welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast. My name is Richie Riche of the MHRT Network. Over that away is DZ representing his Los Angeles Chargers. And down that away, you can find Mr. Jack Hanna representing the Las Vegas Raiders. Just want to thank all of you for joining us this evening, this glorious Wednesday evening, where it is getting colder by the minute up where I am here in Canada.
I bet.
I have had a bunch of snow already. It's kind of one of those odd times of the year where we'll get, maybe 12, 13 inches of snow, and then it'll warm up during the day, and then 3/4 of it goes away. And then we'll wait a couple days, and it'll melt a little bit more, and then we'll get another, 14, 15 inches of
That's
snow.
my least favorite.
Yeah.
Like, it just
Yeah.
creates mush and slush and ice. It's gross.
Yeah. So it's kind of that time of year, and it is my least favorite time of the year. I much prefer what happened to me last year, which is Halloween hit and winter never stopped.
Oh, I thought you were going to mention the ice storm. I was like, no more ice storm.
Oh, I mean, I showed you. You guys saw the photos, right? Where I walked around my area and showed you all the down trees and stuff. That is like it looks like a bomb went off.
Yeah, it did.
That was like, it literally looks like a bomb went off.
It didn't look fun. It didn't look fun.
No. I mean,
78 degrees, Nav, in Tennessee. Wow.
Yeah, it's like in California. It gets warm and then it gets cold, warm and cold. It's like it actually gave me a cold because the temperature is so drastically different.
It's like fall weather here and wet. So it's been raining off and on these last 2 days, which they needed. And let's just say everything that can ache is aching in me, and it sucks.
So we had some interesting games over the last weekend, to say the least.
Interesting is what's the word I would use? Duval.
Yeah, so, right.
Well, I mean, it added a little bit. It added another layer to the season for each of our teams. So you figured out a little bit further where your team is this year. Sometimes unfairly, also, like in terms of what took place. So as an example, I actually think that DZ, your team in particular, is in a real tough spot given your current injury situation. It's not even a fair sample to kind of go off of in terms of what your actual team is capable of, because you can't lose both of your starting, basically all pro left tackle and right tackle.
Let me put it this way, Richie. You can't afford to lose the only two above average linemen you have on your roster.
Yeah.
And then afford to trot out subpar, which I will get into where they rank these guys, and expect to throw it at the wall and expect it to stick and work. It doesn't work that way. And yeah, man.
Well, and on that note there, I mean, I think this is as good a block a show maybe to bring it up as any, but there is an element of this season as a Chargers fan that you've got to be looking at it and saying, okay, I'm starting to question, maybe not the competency is the right
sanity
choice of words. No, but the
of the fan base?
The fan base is fine. No, the fan base is fine. But what I'm getting at is the depth of the roster. So, and that comes down to your front office staff. That comes down to your scouts. That comes down to that sort of thing. And the reason why I'm saying that is that
I would say, Richie, I know you're getting at.
Guys.
I would say the talent evaluation of particularly the O-line position. Other than that, this team, in my opinion, is incredibly deep from the previous regime in the decade under Tom Telesco. But at the offensive line position, center, guards, tackles, the talent evaluation outside of them getting Joe Alt and inheriting Rashawn Slater has been incredibly piss poor. And it's backfiring. And yeah, man, they went cheap, doubled down with Bradley Bozeman, and it's blowing up in their face. And they went cheap and took a risk with Mekhi Becton, who everybody was excited about because he was a giant dude that got to play on the incredible Eagles O-line, who are known for being really good, right?
Mhm.
He got to hide his inefficiencies. He had a great year at playing right guard. Well, guess what? He comes to LA. He doesn't get to hide next to anybody. I mean, think about it, Rich. Before these injuries, he was supposed to play next to Joe Alt, right? So that would have been great.
Mhm.
That would have been, but he's played next to a rotation of guys, Trey Pipkins, Austin Deculus, Bobby Hart, all these guys that shouldn't be starting in the NFL. They should just be practice squad, break in case of emergency, break glass in case of emergency.
Yep.
And it doesn't help also that you have a center who is absolutely, dog crap. I mean, he ranks we'll get into it later, and I don't want to stay on this, but he ranks 37th out of 37th in the centers of the NFL right now who've played, and that's bad, man. But look, what they do, it's not my deal, man.
Hey, at least your management's tried in the way of bringing in Beckham. You guys drafted Alt last year, so you're making the attempts to bring guys in, which I can even say from my squad, they're not even trying to even play guys in.
Nav, hang on, I saw this one. Cry me a river. I will trade you our starting currently.
Right, I agree.
Nav, sure. you are high, my friend. How many of the Colorado Kool-Aids have you drank? I watched your guys' game. All right. When you have the Jacksonville Jaguars sending 4 and sometimes 3, or only blitzing 3 times that whole game against us, and they were pressuring Justin Herbert 50% of the time, you guys actually have a luxury. You just have an inept quarterback at your position. That's your deal. Our O-line is the worst. It is literally the worst. I think it's the worst run blocking O-line in the league, and it's the 4th worst in pass blocking. I have stats to back that up. So unless you guys beat that, then I don't know what else to say.
I hate to say it. I think we do beat it. I mean, you just look at we can't even run the ball. We ran the ball 2 times in the first half.
That's 2 times. That's problem. That's it. With Ashton Genty, that was I don't know, seeing you guys not running him and stuff. I was like, whatever.
What are you doing? It's and yes, this Raiders offensive line, same thing. We have our best 2 offensive linemen that are out and done. And, so I feel your plight, but I feel like the rest of your team is so much better than, what my team is doing. And yes, you got a great quarterback in Herbert. But the Raiders offensive line, I mean, we're going to talk more about it too.
You bring up a good point, Jack. We have, I think, outside of the all great Bowers, we have a better plethora, a better pass catching room, and a better quarterback, right? So you can hide those inefficiencies with that bad O-line, especially when you're doing 13 personnel, quick pass game, things like that, right? So that hides it. I can see from a Raiders point of view, just going, holy crap, this is bad, right? So when you have just one guy who's getting taken away, and you have, say, subpar or average, Trey Tucker, things like that. I get it. I get that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. And so let's transition that over and just kind of start talking about one of the divisional games, as this is the Wild Wild West show, between my Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs. And we'll start getting into kind of some other interesting pieces there with the Broncos. And this is kind of where I was going in terms of what we saw this week with my Broncos overall. Kansas City Chiefs do have a fairly good defensive line. It's not as good as it has been maybe necessarily in years past. I think they're kind of having to mask a few things in terms of some other positions, and they're having to play a little bit differently. But generally speaking, they are a pretty decent unit. Chris Jones is still, getting his moments, and he's still a rather gifted player. While he hasn't had the same year he's had in other years on the team, he is still a very gifted player and needs to be taken seriously. Certainly, cannot be ignored. Very similar to a gentleman on Jack's team by the name of Max Crosby. I kind of put them kind of in a similar tier, if you will, in terms of you must know where they are on the field and you must game plan for them. Otherwise, bad things will happen. So when you look at what happened with the Broncos and the Chiefs, it was actually a really, really interesting game overall. We did see some interesting schemes against us that were handled pretty well by the defense on the offensive side by the Chiefs. And then we also saw a little bit of exposure of a certain style of play when you have a legitimate tight end in the middle of the field, like someone like Travis Kelce, who is a savvy veteran who is capable of, beating coverages or getting open and running routes and running crisp routes and stuff like that. A lot of people don't give him credit anymore because he has definitely lost a bit of a step compared to where he was when he was a little bit younger. But from time to time, every once in a while, he kind of has the fountain of youth game where you see the old Kelce step back. You see the old Kelce kind of re-enter the ring, so to speak, and you start seeing that burst that he used to have in terms of breaking out of routes, and you see that other kind of stuff. So it really is an interesting thing to see on the other as an opponent. Ultimately, the Broncos did handle the Chiefs fairly well. The defense, there's like Mahomes was just uncomfortable. I mean, I saw him yelling at his offensive line on multiple occasions in that game. Speaking of offensive line play and whatnot, the Broncos had a fair number of sacks and a ton of quarterback hits and pressures on Mahomes in that game, and he was definitely uncomfortable. And you need that because that's how Mahomes doesn't get the ball out properly and all that kind of stuff. He hates getting that just consistent, persistent pressure. He's always negatively impacted, especially when it's constant. So,
Richie, I didn't watch your guys' game because I was disgusted after my game.
Yeah,
but I caught up on the highlights.
Yeah,
and I could see your frustration with Wattenberg, and I know he's a free agent next year. It's somebody
Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
A very popular Chargers YouTuber was like listing off center free agents, and Wattenberg's name popped up, and I'm like, oh god, no, we're not doing this with Bozeman's better cousin or something. But I thought your guys' game, after just watching the highlights, I thought Bo Nix probably played one of his best games I've seen him play. Your guys' defense was just suffocating. But caveat to that on the Chiefs, I thought Kelce played really good, and I hate saying that because I'm not a fan of his. But yeah, your guys' D was all over the place, and I will say I think one of your guys' kind of like bad players, if you would say that on the defense, was probably Riley Moss, in my opinion.
No, I disagree.
Okay, that's fine. We have two sets of eyes, two different colors. I thought he just maybe couldn't handle some of this stuff on there, but another thing was way too many penalties, man.
Well, that's actually why I disagreed, because I actually think that so, I mean, he had look, every corner in most games is going to have a play or two where they turn left where they should turn right, or they have an error in judgment in terms of exactly when the wide receiver is going to break out of a route or something like that. Like that's going to happen. Like even the best corners in the league that have ever played, including Deion Sanders and others, they've all had a play or two where they've just messed up, like straight up messed up.
Yeah.
And so that's fine and fair. One thing to keep in mind with Riley Moss in this particular game, and just in general, it seems that for whatever reason, the refs and just the officiating crews as a whole have basically keyed in on him for some reason as a player that needs to get penalties called against him, even if the plays are par for the course on any other
Well, now
game
look, who's
in
putting
any
on
other team.
tinfoil hat right now?
Well, no, but the thing is that at
I think
some
he's getting
point,
picked on.
oh no,
in my
but two things can be true.
by opposing offenses. I think
He's
they
getting
think that that's
yes,
a chink in your guys' armor. You know,
Well-
you guys have a top 3 defense. They're like, okay, if we're going to attack this, who are we going against? And I think
Sure.
Riley Moss is the guy that they try to go after.
okay.
I
So
think
let's
that I agree with both
hold
of
on.
you.
No, but let's test that theory though, and let's go up. So you gave a whack of stats. We'll have Jack step in, but while Jack's talking, go look at Riley Moss's pass defense stats, as in passes thrown versus passes defended, and everything else. It is like it'll be scary. Like you're not going to realize just how good he actually is.
Oh, I
So
didn't
go ahead,
say
Jack.
he wasn't good. I said he had a bad game, and penalty wise because of the yardage he gave up with those penalties. Right, it sucks. It happened to us this week with our safety. But I think that opposing OCs are like, okay, who are we going to attack? Who do we got mismatched? And I think that's the guy they want to go after, opposed to you guys' outside corners. That's just it.
Well, you kind of have to go that route because you look at who
look
the
at
other
Mike agreeing with
cornerback
me.
is.
I don't know
So-
if Mike is really a Broncos fan.
Hey, and salute to everyone in the chat. Good to see everyone here again. But yeah, you look at who's on the other side as a corner, and he's all world, defensive player of the year. So you're going to have to go after a Moss. And yes, and when the Raiders played Denver, I looked up his stats, and he's top 5 in the NFL in pass breakups. So he does a great job, but at the same time, he's also top 5 in getting, penalties called against him. So
Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of working both ways. So
There-
yes,
yeah,
they're
Jack.
working against a really good player, but he does get called a lot too.
so he's probably great, but then a lot of people go his way.
He's
So,
handsy.
yeah.
He's a handsy player.
If this was, let's say, 20 years ago, maybe he wouldn't get those penalties. Wouldn't have been a thing. Maybe
Oh, definitely wouldn't have been a thing.
Yeah.
Couldn't even imagine, the Raiders, one of their best teams where they had like 4 guys that were, I forgot what they called them, but the Soul Patrol, when you had like Jack Tabin, George Atkinson, Willie Brown, and Skip on there. Oh, if they were playing today's NFL, every single call would be a penalty.
Well,
And they would be they'd be considered the worst defensive backfield in the NFL because of the rules versus what the rules were back then.
oh, now Nav's got his tinfoil hat on. 10 PBUs, 9 PIs, suspect. Yeah, I mean, look, you guys could be onto something. I don't watch a ton of Bronco games. I mean, I watch them for the show, but that was something that stood out to me on him. And who knows, maybe it was the refs giving the Chiefs a little like, hey, let's get you back in this game kind of thing.
Richie, I want to ask you this because I did watch the majority of the game. And it just seems like, again, you got to look at it. They've been going to winning the AFC West for 10 plus years.
9.
And I feel like, the lack of, draft picks is finally starting to catch up with them. And they just feel like they're old. It seems like they're just not as fast. But again, you got the stars, like you mentioned, in the way of Kelsey. He had
They remind me of the
impressive
Steelers,
game.
man. They remind me of like they're like a mirror image of the Steelers, but with more success, obviously, with Mahomes and Reed. Like unfortunately, Tomlin hasn't had the best QB situations, but they only have 4 draft picks in this upcoming draft.
That's it. No,
That's a funny comment. But there's a few things, and I kind of see all of them kind of being true, which kind of seems odd. But Riley Moss is heavily targeted because Pat Surtain's on the other side.
There you go.
It's just a fact, right? Like, okay, so I throw to
Which
Pat Surtain.
player do you want to throw to?
Yeah, exactly. And then, but so here's the kicker: Pat Surtain has got like one of the lowest like pass
Yeah.
Like you're just not like you're likely not going to ever make a pass against him, so they just don't throw to his side. It's unreal, like in terms of numbers.
And I feel like when I do see quarterbacks throw to his side, it's like they'll like catch him sleeping a little bit, and they're like, okay, just kidding, we're not doing that again.
Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah.
We forgot what number he was.
Yeah. Oh crap, that wasn't 21. That was 2. Ooh. It was kind of one of those moments, right? And that's fair, right? So totally get it. Like Pat Surtain is that dude, and that makes sense. However, Riley Moss is the most targeted corner, or the second most, or something in like the entire NFL, and he's ranked 4th in terms of pass breakups and other key metrics and stats for a corner.
Yeah, he's still
so I think it's, while there's some fair critiques in the fact that he has managed to somehow earn himself a reputation within kind of the circles there, he's also one of the most penalized cornerbacks, to your point. But then on the flip side of that is to say, okay, well, if you're the most targeted, then would it not also make sense that you have the opportunity, if but nothing else, to also be heavily penalized, right?
I love how
And
you say penalized. But you guys also
Queen's
have
English, my man. Queen's
I
English.
know. You guys are also the most heavily penalized defense in the league, which is really weird in my opinion.
Yep.
Like, I don't get it. I'm like, they're so good. What's up with all these penalties? I don't know.
Well, that's a bit of a discipline issue, and frankly, that's been a bit of a hallmark of Vance Joseph. And oddly enough, it's not normally a hallmark of Sean Payton overall, but this year it's been like over the top, like insane, the number of penalties that the Broncos have had. Like, and the thing that kills me is most of the penalties are completely avoidable. Like these aren't things that are, oh wow, that was, you needed to hold that guy so that your quarterback didn't get his head taken off, or something like that. Like most of these are, you lined up in the neutral zone. Dude, you decide,
I see those way too much, Richie.
Like you decided to go ahead and grab a dude as he was already past you, and you had no business holding on to the jersey. Like stupid crap, like dumb. Or these other ones that are becoming more and more popular now are these like blindside blocks and stuff like that all these players are trying to get away with, and they always get flagged now. Like
that one that happened in your game.
Yeah.
Right? That was that the Mims return?
Yeah, there's a few of them. And so we got to get over this nonsense about making stupid choices. And the thing is, they're definitely good enough that they don't need to. They just don't.
Right.
No, that's my point. I'm like,
they just don't.
This defense is too good to be 32nd in the league in penalties. Like,
Yeah.
That's true. So, that's true. The real term, aggressive. They do blitz a lot.
Yep. I do agree with that, but then on the flip side, they also the one thing that I have been surprised about is even in the game against the Chiefs, there's like 2 or 3, not just penalties, but like egregious no calls, like as in to the point where it's like in the middle of your screen on the TV broadcast, and you're kind of looking at it saying, like, that's like, there may as well be like a ring around the thing on the screen, and then like a little caption that says like, the refs are retarded, the refs are retarded, the refs are retarded. Like it was that egregious, some of the missed calls. One of them was on Benito, and then another one was on Jonathan Cooper. And Jonathan Cooper had his jersey pulled back like this as he's trying to go around the edge. And it's like, okay, like definitionally, that is literally the image that they show in like the training sessions on like what not to do.
Yeah. I feel like with Cooper and Benito, they are like what, 1 and 2 of the quickest get-offs in the league, right? So
yes.
Yeah, they're like a track team.
Yeah, they're like a track team, Jack. I feel like sometimes the refs are like, Oh shit, that's just not fair for the linemen. So we're just gonna look the other way because these guys. I mean, some. I think I saw. Was it Benito? Yeah, I think it was Benito. I saw. It's like he like timed snaps like boom, like it was just. I'm like, oh my god, he had to have jumped. You know, he had to have been off sides.
He did
and,
one.
and it was
And that's an okay type penalty in my mind. If you're being aggressive and you're trying to time it and you just time it by a second, to get a penalty. But if you're doing it, 9 out of the 10 times you're getting in there and you're causing havoc, you're disrupting the play or getting a sack. Yeah, I take that every day of the week.
The one I saw, he didn't jump it, and I think even the commentators were like, "Oh my god," and I'm just like, "Dude, sometimes it's so effing unfair to the. I mean, whatever the O linemen are like, 50, 60 more pounds than them, but I just like it's crazy how fast and how good these guys are, especially in Denver with those two edges. And I thought Benito was the quicker one, but apparently Cooper is.
Cooper's faster than Benito.
Yeah, which is like
that's nuts.
Which sucks is because your right side usually your weaker side unless you're the Lions. But so then you're like, oh great, your right tackle now has to deal with the even more, crazier athlete. Yeah.
So just to add to that, in terms of, we did speak a little bit, DZ, earlier in the show, about like depth and drafting and talent and that sort of thing. So I'm going to list off a group of names for you in the Broncos outside linebacker room, and you can look up their names in terms of their performance this year, and it kind of gives you a bit of an idea just in terms of why it's important to look at depth and develop those players. And just it kind of speaks to things like the O-line and the other position groups that they're developmental in nature, right? Like you learn skills and you develop those skills and you then all of a sudden elevate your game. Like Nick Benito, there was a period of time where he was awful. Like he was actually objectively bad.
He's on the Josh Allen rise.
Yeah. He was objectively really bad. Like he was like in his first 2 seasons with the Broncos, he was not even good. He was objectively bad. Like he had a couple flashes where it was like,
I remember you talking about this.
Yeah, before. And so anyway, so here's a few names just to kind of give you an idea. So you have Jonathan Cooper, Nick Benito. Those are the 2 starting outside backers for the Denver Broncos. Then you have Jonah Ellis, and you have Dondre Tillman. Both of which, by the way, last year were in either double-digit sacks or at least in the over 5 sacks on the season, like in that range. Almost all of them.
Wow.
I think
that's
Ellis.
Nuts.
Yeah, and then in addition to that, like above and beyond that, we also have Q Robinson, who we drafted this year, that played a fair amount in that game against the Chiefs and is starting to go on a similar trajectory because he's got to elevate his game in order to even get on the field, right? Like, so he's got to try to compete with all those other guys that are in like, they're on like the NFL board in terms of like, where you're at in terms of quarterback pressures and all that kind of stuff. And so that's an example of drafting depth and then having a competition to kind of get the right guys on the field at the right time and all that sort of stuff.
And the right team too.
Yeah, I've seen what the Broncos have done, especially I would say especially on the defense, is they've gotten guys that were other than I say Greenlaw, Surtain, right, things like that. But like I'd say, let's just look at the D line, and I'll throw in the outside linebackers because I just call them edges, right? I don't really call them edges. Even though Nick Benito can drop into coverage and pick off passes, we see that too. But they have found guys that just fit that scheme. You know what I mean?
Right.
That work, right? Which isn't easy. Like they found dudes that were not household names, were not big time guys, and they've made them work. And this unit that they have got in 2025 is pretty damn good, and they work very well with each other.
So on that note, DZ, I saw a few of the Broncos fans in here. By the way, thanks for joining the show. click that thumbs up button and share this with other Broncos fans. Get more in here so we can have an interesting dialogue on our team. But I saw a few names thrown out, like the Orange Crush, like one of the old ones. And then the no-fly zone was the 2015 defense that we're all familiar with from the Broncos. That was really the last, like, just incredible defense that the Broncos have really fielded. We've had some good ones since then, don't get me wrong. But I mean, like, elite level defense, it was the 2015. Now, we have a name on a channel that I'm familiar with that has referred to this Broncos defense as the Anonymous Crush. I'm not going to lie. I rather like the
what I
name.
just said.
Yeah,
about
that's what I'm saying. It really fits the guys that we have on the roster, and it ties back into our history at the Denver Broncos with the Orange Crush as the defense. I actually rather liked that as a kind of a catchy name. And to be quite honest, I think it's a good fit. Really, it's a good fit.
I think it fits. I think it fits because of kind of what I just said. And then, outside of bringing in Hufanga and Greenlaw, who, come to find out, I heard something about that because they both came from San Fran, right?
Yeah.
And you know how they had to deal with their injury history?
Yeah.
I found out that San Francisco is probably one of the only teams that trains their players completely different than the rest of the NFL does. And that is stretching and everything. And this could be one of the reasons why they have, I think, over 2,000 injuries or 2,000 guys not contributing in games since Shanahan or since whoever their head coach has taken over. So they probably came over to Shanahan. So they've probably come over to Denver, and who knows how long they stay, whatever the contracts are. But we might not see them get these, abnormal injuries just because they're probably going to be better conditioned, better, in a better situation than what was going on in San Fran.
Yep. The Broncos training staff has a record so far. So our training staff, generally speaking, has actually fielded one of the healthiest rosters with the exception of this season. This season, we actually have a low-key, pretty high number of injuries on the Broncos. A lot of people don't realize just how many guys have actually gone down being hurt this season for the Broncos. But overall, just all things factored in for, say, over a 3-year period or so since Sean Payton started and the coaching staff and the training staff have kind of come in, the Broncos have generally fielded one of, if not the healthiest roster in the NFL. And that does a lot for your team. I mean, when you got your starters that don't drop, or if they do drop, it's for like a game or two as they kind of just like heal the little nick and whatever they have. Not going on IR and stuff. That's a huge thing for a team and a roster in terms of having the right guys in the right positions to kind of do the right stuff.
You guys and the Chiefs for these last few years that have been relatively very healthy.
Yeah. And then just a few other position groups I want to quickly call out in this game. We saw some not great behavior or play rather from the inside backers and safeties in terms of the handoff from the middle part of the field to the back end of the field in this past game against the Chiefs. I think a lot of that just has to do with, as much as I hate to give the dude credit, Travis Kelce is a former quarterback. He's a Hall of Fame player, as much as you hate to admit it. And a guy that can play like that will find a way of confusing or exploiting the way that the seams in the defense and the creases in the defense work together.
He does it against all of us.
Yeah,
and you just go, and we're sitting back as fans, fanalists and fans with our, 65, 80-inch TVs. We're like, how the do you not see this guy? Like, how is he getting so wide open all the time? Like,
it's not like he's a small dude.
No.
Like, it's not like he's like, like a little, short stack running out there like a Wes Welker, who you can understand might go missing on a field somewhere.
Right.
The dude's kind of tall. Like, he's not a small guy.
They got him doing these slow releases, and then he disappears underneath, and they're just, credit to the Chiefs as well with their play calling, their creative play calling. They're no dummies either, right? So literally, when you guys and the Chiefs are going at it this last week, it was just a chess match back and forth. I mean, the score showed that it was an effing chess match. It was a rock fight, like, who's going to blink first, essentially. And, credit to your guys' defense.
Yep. And then, so there's the linebackers. I think I want to give some credit to as well, even though they had a couple rough outings and certain plays and stuff. Greenlaw, Sternad was playing better, although not quite as good as I'd like him to. I think Greenlaw largely carried that unit. We also saw some Jordan Turner out there, who you might remember me bringing up in the preseason game with the Broncos, who I wanted us to keep on the 53 or make sure we didn't lose. He is the undrafted linebacker that I was talking about alongside Karene Reed. We ended up keeping him on the practice squad, and he played in the game against the Chiefs, both special teams as well as on field, the linebacker from time to time in the heavier sets in terms of the run stopping and that sort of thing. And he had some great plays. He played very, very well, which I expected. And he's a sure tackler, a big guy, overall, he's going to make a great addition to the Denver Broncos roster, in my opinion. And then, of course, I have to give credit to Bo Nix.
Yeah.
I have been critical.
I mean, look, go ahead, Richie, because I'm going to say something about Bo.
I have been critical of Bo, generally speaking, off and on, both this season and just overall. Although I have said that he needs to do certain things in order to level himself up. Like, it's not like I've been, he's trash, make him go away, I never want to see him again. I've never been that guy.
Right.
But at the same time, like, you need to start growing. Like, you need to start making changes in your game to not make the same mistakes over and over again. And I mean, possibly, dare I say, could be the beginning of some changes for Bo for the positive, where we saw Bo, and maybe this is a Sean Payton and Bo Nix thing, have finally started to gel a little bit better in terms of kind of what they're doing, in spite of Wattenberg being hot garbage. Bo Nix went to a more hurry up, quick, out of the huddle style offensive style or scheme. Bo Nix thrives in that type of play calling style.
Yeah.
He then translated that onto the field in terms of climbing the pocket when he needed to, in terms of making plays, and he avoided many of those happy feet issues that we keep talking about, where the pocket's completely clean and Bo Nix just like runs out of the pocket, as if the pocket's about to collapse right on top of him.
So
you need to do that.
What I see especially in college right now, is college is not doing the NFL any favors in QB development.
Nope.
Not at all. It's very bad, guys. Like, so if your team needs a quarterback, I mean, very rarely are they going to hit and be great, right off the bat. And then even then we see slumps, and I've been super critical of Bo Nix. Personally, I'm like, I don't know if he's a good quarterback or if he's a bad quarterback or he's just going to be a flash in the pan. Like I said, I think this is probably one of his better games that I've seen him play.
Yeah.
I thought he did really well, considering he was playing. And, I don't want to take this as a sly, like, backhand comment. I mean, we can all see the kind of writing on the wall with the Chiefs. They seem to be maybe going on the downward. But look, he did great. And somebody said it in the, I think Rip It and Flip It said, Bo does have that fourth quarter clutch gene. And I said this to there's this Broncos fan. We had this space on X a couple nights ago. It's a Broncos fan, Zach. And I said, man, if you guys can get either the run game going or, because of J.K. Dobbins' injury or something, which didn't look like it happened in this game, or get the pass game going, which I did see with Troy Franklin, I said, this team can be a legit contender this year. Like, They could be a Super Bowl threat this year, at least come out on top in the AFC. I mean, there's still some other really good teams. I think the the Patriots, I mean, obviously you guys kind of have a similar schedule. The fourth place, I think you guys might have been a little tougher. They're kind of built similarly to you guys. So it'll be interesting to see if you guys ever match up together.
So, Mike, I wanted to say I did not forget this comment that you brought up earlier because I think it's rather fitting given what DZ just said. Do we think we're going to sign a veteran running back? If I had to guess, this would be the week that we would potentially do it.
Yeah.
This is where we would probably have scoured or as a lead-in, scour other teams' practice squads for talent to try to bring in. I do think, however, you did see Jaleel McLaughlin come in and really fight pretty hard to try to show that he really does deserve to be on an NFL roster. However, you also saw that he was still very much one-dimensional. He's a good running back, but the problem is the pass protection side of it. He's just not big enough to be a pass pro guy.
Well, I wouldn't say that because there's small guys that pass pro really well. It just takes will. Remember how you talk about you gotta have the will to do that?
Yeah.
Because we have a guy, Kimani Vidal, he's 5'7", and he was horrible at pass blocking, so he was a liability. And then he worked on it in that offseason and is now an excellent pass blocker. So that might be something McLaughlin. But I was surprised that Bidet or Batty, whoever.
Yeah.
He's more taking that special teams role and not really a contributor behind, like, say, RJ Harvey, which I thought was surprising because I always liked his game in the running back room.
I think Sean Payton is a unique cat. I think Sean Payton approaches games and he always has a guy or two in every game that he decides to throw out as a feature player in those games simply because he believes that they are a mismatch or can be a mismatch or can do certain things that the other team doesn't protect well against.
Yeah.
And so I actually think that with Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos in this particular game, I think that they saw a weakness in the getting to second level against the Chiefs. I think that they saw that a guy like McLaughlin could probably punch his way real quick to the second level and get a quick 4 yards, 5 yards when needed. And I think that they believed that that was going to be a potential strength for the Broncos in this game. In fairness, it worked a handful of times. Like we actually had we had some reasonable runs. It was not, amazing, but it was not awful either. It was kind of right in the middle. But I have been saying since the very beginning, and I'm on tape saying it, so it's not, like I can deny saying it. The Denver Broncos really do need a running back who is in that 6 foot to 6'2", 240, 230 kind of mold.
I said that on one of my spaces.
Yeah.
I said, hey,
well, you can go after Najee next year.
I asked this guy, Zach, he's got thousands and thousands of followers on X, but I asked him, I'm like, hey, do you know Richie Rich? He's like, no, I don't know him. I'm like, well, look, I co-host with him on my show, but I said, my fellow co-host has been calling for a big back for you guys' team for some time. So I was like, do you think that's something that you would see? And I think that's probably what that running back room is missing in Denver is a big back.
Yeah.
A pair with an RJ Harvey or when JK comes back, something along those lines. And obviously estimated didn't work. There's more of them out there.
Yeah, a guy like that, someone who is in that larger back mold that can act as a good red zone guy, that can act as Because
so I guess this would be a question for DZ then. Do you think Najee is going to come back next year? Because he's a big back.
Nope. And and there's when Jim Harbaugh does his pressers, when somebody asks him particular about guys, and he's done this twice that I've caught on to. He's done this with Najee and he did it with Becton. And when they talk about them struggling and stuff, and he does this really deflection. You've guys seen Jim talk. Sorry, and he does these deflection weirdo kind of grandpa things. And no. So short answer is no. Najee's done, and which sucks, man, because he looks good. So I could see maybe if Najee's ready to rock after that Achilles, maybe Denver picks him up like they did with JK, because he's a hammer. That's what he is. That's his role.
Yeah. So overall, the Broncos. Well, and then of course, I do think that's what's important here is Troy Franklin had himself a game.
Yes, he did.
He had himself a game. He
looked good, man.
Oh yeah, like
I mean, some of those throws that Bo was making to him, I was like,
yes,
this is why I had to like eat my whatever you want, my Chargers bias towards the Broncos. I was like, beautiful throws, great catches, about damn time. Like, this is good stuff. Broncos country had to be ecstatic from what they
and
saw.
Pat Bryant had himself a game too, which I think is important to note as well.
Hurt?
He got hurt and then came back. So he got hurt mid-game and then he kind of came back in the game. So Pat Bryant wears number 13, if I'm not mistaken. That would be my number, by the way, if I played. I would be wearing number 13. That's always been
the superstition on 13 is I have it tattooed on me. I'm like, it's not bad luck.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was born on Friday the 13th, and so I would wear number 13.
There you go.
Now we know what's wrong with you.
Thanks, appreciate that, Jack.
That'd be an odd number for a tight end.
Yeah, it would, but nonetheless, it is what it is. So, but anyways,
now every time I see Evan Ingram wearing number 1, I'm like, what the hell? But whatever.
Yeah, sometimes it looks weird with these bigger players wearing these smaller numbers. But I got to say, I think the all-star of your game, Richie, was McMillan. I mean, wow, did he not have a game? I mean,
I agree.
5 tackles, 1 assist, 2 sacks, 1 INT. I mean, he was on fire.
Yeah, he was.
You got the 2 sacks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, those blitzes, those overload, like, oh God, they're so dangerous. And that's where he was getting. That was where he was getting home. Mahomes, he stood no chance.
Well, there's also a couple sacks where Mahomes had 4 dudes in the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
Like 4 guys in the back. I mean, he had no chance at getting away. Like there was no escaping. So, and then the other thing that I thought was rather uncharacteristic for Patrick Mahomes was he normally throws the ball away before he gets hit. And like when he goes out on those kind of like boots and runs and stuff, I don't know what's going on with him. He's holding on to that ball now as he runs out in the flats. And
my biggest complaint with Justin Herbert, he holds onto the damn ball.
I don't understand because that like it's one thing if you're Herbert and that's been your MO for like ever. Like the entire time he's been in the league, that's been his thing, right?
He takes sacks because
1,
they probably don't hurt him. 2, it's stupid. I'm like, throw that ball away.
Yeah. So I mean, Herbert's been doing that ever since he's been in the league, but Mahomes never did that. Like that was never his thing. That was never his shtick. His thing was always like, I run out, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get hit, and he like chucks the thing away or does something crazy.
Mahomes reminded me of what Tom Brady used to do. Tom Brady was like, "Oh, just throws it out of bounds."
Yeah,
when he would literally.
Mahomes is this is where I'm always like, we've talked about this before. It just hit Mahomes. He looks like he's going to run out of bounds, and then at the last second, he's like, "Oh, I'm just going to run up the field on the sideline and maybe go out or throw that ball." It's just like when quarterbacks do that, like Mahomes, I just want to see him get his bell rung. Either you go out.
My biggest thing about the Chiefs, where I thought they could have had an edge in this game, was they stopped running the ball. And like, I'm like, what? Why? Why did you stop running the ball? They stopped running the ball, and I know they're really thin in the running back room, but I thought that could have been a strength where they could have kept things going for their team. And I said this also, like, man, they kind of missed not getting Brees, but then I found out how many draft picks they have, and I'm like, maybe that's a reasoning for that.
Well, one thing the reason why they didn't run the ball is if you actually look at how many of their runs were stopped in the backfield, it was quite a number of them. Like it was more than just like 1 or 2. It was like quite a few. And so I think one of the reasons why they stopped running the ball the way that they did was because it was not as impactful as it could have been. And I think that they had a couple runs to their credit. Like Kareem Hunt had a few good runs. Like there was a couple real good runs, but those were almost immediately countered by bad runs. Like runs that didn't work or runs that were kind of for a loss.
That's just how it
And
goes
so
sometimes.
Well,
anyways,
look at they only ran the ball 13 times in the game, so it's like
That's
yeah. And I actually think that the Chiefs thought that they would be able to throw the ball on the Broncos for whatever reason. I think that they actually they truly thought they might be able to get some passes out. I think they thought actually their game plan was because Sertan wasn't there and wasn't going to be playing, that they thought that they were going to be able to throw the ball on the Broncos in some way, shape, or form. And they found out very, very quickly that our undrafted free agent or undrafted college free agent that we have in McMillan, Jaquan McMillan, who was like an all-star stud in that game against the Chiefs, is not to be trifled with, and is in the upper tier of cornerbacks in his own right in the NFL. Like he is having himself a year.
I can see a lot of people trying to poach players off that defense as soon as they come up. I can see.
I hope you guys have a lot of free agents because I can use some of them.
Yeah. So, I mean, and the crazy thing is at the beginning of the season, a lot of Broncos fans were actually thinking that McMillan would get outright cut or traded because we drafted Jahdae Barron, right? And he's a slot guy. Like his position is Jaquan McMillan's position. Like he's a slot corner.
Yeah.
And McMillan is playing so well that Jahdae Barron is only coming in when we're in the light sets where we have like we don't actually have the second linebacker on the field. Jahdae Barron is coming in as the other linebacker.
So maybe their plan is for him to take over for McMillan, and maybe next year, whenever McMillan's kind of thing is up.
As I say, when is his contract up?
Well, I mean, if he gets poached, he's going to get poached for big time money, in my opinion.
Yeah, probably.
Because he is playing at a level where he deserves it. And so, but the other thing to keep in mind, and this is the other kicker, you brought up the Patriots and the Broncos, and we've got a few examples of like I actually think the Patriots even this season are like the Patriots of old in some regard, where where you draft guys and you get guys on your roster that you may not necessarily think are household names, but they fit the system and the scheme that you're running perfectly to such a point where they are playing like all pros, right?
Yeah.
And I think that it's very important to take a look at the guys and the system that they're playing in. And don't just think that because they're playing really well in that system that they're going to kill it for yours as well.
No, 100%. It's all about the perfect situation most of the time, unless there's some of these elite guys, some of the household names that can move around. This is a video. No, it's not. When you said the Patriots, I was like, yeah, it's very reminiscent of their old ways because of who their head coach is. I mean,
well, of course, yes, like of course, like naturally, right? Like that makes a lot of sense.
Outside the Bills, I still have questions about the Patriots. Outside the Bills, they really haven't been tested, so it's going to be really interesting to see what they look like
against the Bills and some other guys. Yeah. So, anyways, that's the Broncos Chiefs. I thought it was a very good game. I do believe that it was a reasonable litmus test for the Broncos to go against a team like the Chiefs, because the Chiefs, while they are certainly third in the division right now, I totally understand. They still have some legit talent on the team, and their head coach is no slouch. So, just because they're having a down year, there's still a force, and you need to, you have to beat them. Like you have to beat them in order to move forward. And so I thought that was a pretty good test for my Broncos. I did think we could have done even better than we did, but given kind of where some of the things are at and who we were playing and the division rival and all that kind of stuff, I actually thought we did quite well. Onwards and upwards, we'll see who else and how else we play in future games. But we are number one in the AFC West after that game by a two-game margin. By a two-game margin. And that is a good spot to be in for any team
6 games
going into
left,
a
right?
bye. Yeah, exactly. So you're now in charge of your own destiny, as they say, and we need to kind of see where we're at.
Yeah.
So DZ, over to you and your game last week. I do believe I may have called at least the win-loss on that
You
game.
called the win, yeah.
Yeah.
Going into this game, I did not have a handle on the Jags at all. They're a weird team. They're a weird team for me to grasp, but there were some common what's that word I'm looking for? Can't figure it out. But the Chargers going to the East Coast, playing in that Eastern Standard Time, these 1 o'clock or 10 a.m. games for them.
Yeah.
We knew what they looked like, and it wasn't a good sight. And heading up in this game, I had numerous spaces talking to fans, and it's like they cannot show up and expect to win, especially. And there's something about playing in Florida, playing in Duval. It's like kryptonite. This game was bad. And I'll admit, after halftime, I said I wanted no part of watching this game. I think I caught some glimpses of the third quarter, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to let this ruin my day. And I turned the game off entirely. And I think I decided to go do some house chores. I literally was like, I'm not wasting my time with these guys. It was bad.
Kind of very similar.
The Chargers got their asses beat belt to ass by the Jaguars. The Chargers shouldn't even show up. It was like they just took a trip across the country on the owner's dime and just decided to not go out there and play. It was 6-35. The Jaguars did whatever they wanted to the Chargers with no response. And for some reason, I don't know what it is about this AFC South. I remember just a few years ago, you thought the AFC South was a cakewalk. Well, so far, the Chargers got their asses beat by the Colts, the Jags. Tennessee was frisky, a decimated skeleton crew of a team, Tennessee. And look, we have Houston on the horizon, who beat the brakes off of us in the playoffs last season. And I said before the show to the panel, or I don't know if Jack heard, but the writing is on the wall, in my opinion. Now, this was probably Harbaugh's worst loss, I think, in his professional coaching career in the NFL, and this was definitely Justin Herbert's worst game of his professional career. He was 10 for 18, 1 interception, and threw for only 81 yards. He was the highest rusher with 21 yards. It was getting comical. Let's see. I read all my notes and I've wrote them madly. Oh, we had 8 first downs to the Jags 30. Time of possession was 22 minutes to 38. I mean, the defense was out there damn near the whole game. I mean, these guys, they were playing like crap. And I'll say this, Liam Cohen, the head coach for the Jags, he was the OC for the Bucs last year. And the Bucs beat the brakes off the Chargers last year. They made Minter's defense look, just basic, right? Well, he's not their OC in Jacksonville, but that they're calling his plays and his scheme, right? So, and he just has Minter's number. I mean, I think Minter is a good up and coming, potentially head coach somewhere down the line, but he's been getting exposed by some of these elite offensive coordinators in these, his first 2 seasons in the league as a D coordinator. So he's kind of on quote unquote fraud watch, in my opinion. Like, I wouldn't consider him elite, even though the Chargers defense is by metrics doing pretty well, numbers wise. Let's see. Penalties.
And it'll be interesting too with the Jags to see if they get a sweep of the AFC West. because they've beaten all our teams.
So that's another thing is I think they still got to play Denver, right?
No, Kansas City.
Wait, they've already played Kansas City, I thought.
Oh, maybe I got them backwards.
Yeah, so I think they still haven't played Denver, and because I want to say I think they're a tough team. Like I think that would be a really fun. Their offensive line looked good, but I want to also say this is probably caveat to the Chargers because, like I said, the Chargers didn't look like they showed up again, which is, they should be embarrassed. I was like getting like flirting with being upset about this, and I had to step back and go, you know what? I'm not getting paid millions. I'm not the one donning those colors. Like, I'm not going to be embarrassed by them embarrassing themselves. You know what I mean? So this is on them. So F them. Whatever happens comes their way. That's on them. Yeah, another thing is, the Chargers were coming off a game against the Steelers where they were max protecting, doing the quick pass game. And they went away from that. They decided to just run 11 personnel with Penning's debut at left tackle, and boy, did that look ugly. Penning was zero help. Zero help. He actually got benched for Austin Deculus, who is another giant turd out there at left tackle, which is that's being kind. So I think going in this bye, there's a lot of soul searching this staff and team are going to have to do. Whether they move him into the interior line, I'm not sure, but I've got a guy that they should be playing at left tackle. They just have this infatuation with these large humans. Deculus and Penning are both like, I believe 6'7", 6'8", but I think the guy at left tackle going forward should be Jamari Salyer, who isn't that big. Also, another thing, what was it? I'm going through my notes, guys. Hang on. Oh, I said this earlier. I don't know if I said this. The Jags were getting to Justin with just 4. In the whole first half, when it was somewhat competitive, I was saying in a group chat, I'm like, man, Justin looks confused out there. And what they were doing is they're rushing forward, dropping everybody in coverage, taking away all his weapons. So he was back there holding on to the ball, had nowhere to go with it. And they had him in hell. And they only blitzed 3 times the whole game and still pressured him 50% of the time, which is why it looked so bad, which is why this game was also so bad. And his O-line didn't help. Now, going on to the defense, because the offense was putrid, other than 2 field goals, the defense was out there damn near the whole game. And they missed 10 tackles against the run. They hadn't missed more than 5 in any of all their previous games. So Bishal Tootin and Travis Etienne just did whatever they wanted. It was almost like they gave up at a point in the game or just stopped trying and were just marching out there. It was just Stolfi. I don't know if it was a trap game or just being exposed. Jags had the ball. Let's see. Oh yeah, here's another interesting stat. The Jags had the ball for 16 minutes and 28 seconds to 1 minute and 54 seconds in the second half. Chargers didn't even have the ball for it was horrible, dude. Let's see. Yeah, their D coordinator, some guy I've never even heard, Anthony Campanile. Yeah, it was a turnstile, their D coordinator. But I also want to say, a huge weakness for this team outside of this O-line on the offensive side is the offensive coordinator. Chargers fans were warned by the Ravens fans, like, dude, you guys, he ruined Lamar, this yada yada. And as fans, we have nothing to do with hires and stuff like that. But it comes in, it shows up, it rears its ugly head when the games aren't going the way they need to be going for the Chargers. Greg Roman shows zero creativity or adjustments. I mean, his best games are games that he was able to game plan against. Like, I mean, that Chiefs game in Brazil, he had damn near the whole offseason a game plan for that. So there's that. But he is definitely a weak link. He's definitely a guy that kind of holds back this offense, because I was watching the Jags, how they ran run plays, and I was like, it was so creative. You had misdirection. You had, a guard pulling, the running back going the opposite direction. It was really neat to see. And I hate saying that, but we don't see that from our OC at all. And I do have my notes. Do the Jags have the AFC's West number? So there's that. I think Richie, your Broncos could be that deciding factor, because I think you guys.
You just never know what you're going to get with the Jags. I mean, how does your team get blown out the way it did, and my team, who's been horrible the whole season, loses by 1 point?
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to make excuses for the Chargers because they're professionals, right? But they are the most traveled team out of all the teams in the NFL this year. And the NFL schedulers did not do them any favors at all by scheduling all their games at early games on the East Coast. Every one of their games on the East Coast has been a 10 a.m. game. And to me, I'm like, it's like they're punishing them for prime. I have no clue. I'm like, not one of these games was a 4 o'clock game, because I'm on the East Coast. So it just, I don't know. It was bad. But if Nav's still in the chat, I'm going to go over where the offensive line ranks that was out there. Trevor Penning, I'm going to go from the left tackle over. Trevor Penning ranked 70th out of 80 guards, but he was playing tackle. So he ranks 70th out of 80 guards, plays tackle. Zion Johnson, 50th out of 80 guards. So he's probably your somewhat average guy, right? Bozeman, our center, he's hated amongst the Chargers fans. He's a great guy off the field, but his play is horrific. He ranks 37th out of 37th of centers in the league right now. Becton, the guy you wanted, absolute waste of money. Now, to be fair to this guy, he's been dealing with injuries, but you know what? That's been the story of his whole career. He ranks 78th out of 80 guards. So there's 2 worse than him. And then this graphic had Bobby Hart, but Bobby Hart didn't play. So Pipkins, our right tackle, he ranks 75th out of 76th. So if you paid attention to any of that, these guys were all damn near at the bottom and have no business starting. But I think it's something I said to Richie before the show started is this team has a problem at offensive line evaluation. I don't have any problems with how they evaluate any other part of this team. I like their secondary. I like their linebackers, I would say not that much. But I like everything else. Wide receivers, running backs who they brought in, the D-line. But the offensive line outside of Joel and Rashawn Slater has been subpar. And you have the face of your franchise who gets paid $50 million or whatever it is every year, and you're marching out an offensive line that reminds me of what Andrew Luck had in front of him in Indianapolis. And we all know what happened to him. Justin, some of the best sacks I've seen were the Jags sacking Justin. I mean, just your how should you say? It's like if you get in an encyclopedia and look up like how do you sack a quarterback, you would see a Jaguar sacking Justin Herbert because it was damn near perfect how they were doing it. It was great. It was great, but
well, at least you got an excuse. You got 2 all-world, tackles being out, and you're dealing with guys that are backups. So again, what Richard said is about depth. And, you're putting guys, you're having to mix and match them, guards going over to tackles, where my team is like, even with the two good offensive linemen they had in there, they're still, poor.
Yeah.
It's even, and I got some stats for you when it comes to my turn to talk about offensive line.
I mean, we could both hold hands and hug it out while we cry over these offensive lines that are potentially, in my case, probably going to derail the Chargers' year. They're sitting at 7-4, and I know people are talking about the Chiefs. I think it was Ed was in the chat. Do you see the Chiefs making the playoffs? I can see easily. I'm like leaning 70% that the Chargers miss the playoffs this year. And that has to do with their upcoming schedule. They're getting into this gauntlet of teams in this, later half in this, remaining 6 games. And I had 2 stipulations into looking into these teams. One, I looked at where their O-line rank, I mean, not their O-line, their D-line ranks and their offensive coordinators, their offensive rankings. And I did that because of our O-line is piss poor, right? If you have a good D-line, it's hard for this team to get anything done. And then I also looked at good offensive coordinators because this defense has been struggling against really good offensive coordinators. And, it starts back up, after the bye with the Raiders, then it's the Eagles. And then you go on the road, 2 early games, but they're not east of the Mississippi. So I'm like, you can't really count them as East Coast games, I guess. You got the Chiefs, Cowboys, and then you finish it off with, I think it's like the top 3 defenses, and that's the Texans and then Broncos. And, the Texans have the number 4th D-line right now with the 1st in pass rush win rate. And it's just, it's scary. I kind of like low key am having PTSD already about what is inevitably going to happen. And, with the Raiders, it's a division game. The Raiders D-line doesn't rank that well, and neither does the offensive production. But we've seen the Raiders, how they play against division this year. They're still playing everybody incredibly tough, right? Eagles might as well come out 3 weeks in advance and say that's going to be a loss. They have the 5th to 7th ranked D-line, with I think it's something around there. We'll just say that. So, long story short, I can see some teams on the outside looking in. What do they say? It's are in the hunt, right? I can see teams like the Ravens. I've got the Ravens taking out the Steelers, in my opinion, but I could see the Chiefs probably getting in there. Now, this is to say that Jim Harbaugh and this staff that they've got in LA can't figure something out and make this work. And who am I? I'm just some fanalist, right? Maybe if they move some guys around, I'd say bench Becton, put Penning at guard, Jamal Sawyer at left tackle. And, there is one hope, is that after the bye, Omarion Hampton comes back. So, the rumor is and everything that he's going to be ready to rock against the Raiders when we come after the bye. So that would be a huge boost in the running game. And
is Alt coming back this season?
No, Alt had season-ending surgery.
Oh yeah, surgery. Okay.
Yeah, he had some sort of. I think everybody is assuming it was a tightrope surgery, and but it's not looking great. And this was a piss poor performance, and I said that I'm not going to let this ruin my day. I mean, I can only imagine how the Raiders fans feel, with what's going on with them this season. And I had to catch the Broncos Chiefs game up because I was just I was done with football. I did watch the Raiders Cowboys game, so there is that.
You didn't miss much. It would have been a repeat of your game against the Jaguars.
I don't think it was that. I don't think it was as bad as our game. I think you guys I had Trey Tucker in fantasy, so I was paying attention to him a lot and things like that. But yeah, man.
Yeah.
Short story. Long story short, I don't see the Chargers catching the Broncos unless half their defense catches a mistake, or something.
Yeah, I don't see the Raiders catching the Broncos either.
Yeah, man. So congratulations on being the AFC champs in 2025, Richie. I'm going to come out and say it.
There's still the potential, honestly, if we're going to be honest here, there is still the potential that the Chiefs could probably bounce back. Like, there's the potential. Like, they certainly have coaching and the personnel to maybe do something.
Right.
Yeah, they have the pedigree to kind of bounce back and come back from adversity rather.
I mean, I see them.
Richie, would definitely have to win out.
Richie, I see them taking our spot. Essentially, I see them leapfrogging us, and that's due to who we have left to play and the strengths and weaknesses of the weakness of this team and the strengths of these teams going forward. I mean, Cowboys that look like, oh, they just have a great offense. Well, I watched them with their new additions, Frank Clark and what's that guy's name? Quinnen Williams. D-line looked a heck of a lot better. And obviously, I was like, okay, I got to take this with a grain of salt because Nav and Jack keep telling me how bad your guys' O-line is. So I'm like, all right, so are they good? Are these bad? But no, those guys are good. But yeah, man.
Yeah, Dallas's defensive tackles definitely put a hammering on the Raiders. That's for sure. So
real quick.
So yeah, players are gonna have to step up for your bolts to go against those guys.
Yeah, real quick. What's old man's name? Grumpy in the chat. Where'd he go? I wanted to answer one of his questions. Edward Winchell. I always call him Grumpy. He said, "Where's this question?" Oh, he's like, "Is it true Harbaugh gave his team the entire week off of that very ugly game?" And yeah, he did. And as fans, we're like, because last year they had a bye at week 5, so much different time of the year, right? Very early. Well, he's still, yes. They still had to practice, but this week he was like, no practice. And what we're all assuming and hoping is that while they're banged up, maybe this will help. But I got a feeling there's going to be some changes being made, and man, fingers crossed it's a firing. I hope and pray that there's going to be a firing or two, or something happens when they come back after this bye. But yeah, like I said, I've got to be realist. Like I said, the writing's on the wall. We had a good run while it lasted. We had a good run. That whole 3-0, had everybody.
Any given Sunday, who knows? You never know.
Edward, it wasn't my turn to talk though, man. Richie does 17 hours on the Broncos. Jack gets 5 minutes. I get 5 minutes. So,
in fairness, most of the time I spend the least amount of time on the Broncos. I typically just zip through them at the end. But I actually, so if we can just go back to kind of what you're talking about earlier in terms of depth and stuff. It kind of shows that your team is capable of coaching guys up.
Not on the offensive line, but everywhere else, sure.
No, but I meant generally speaking, like as a whole, like as a general team, your team seems to be able to coach a lot of guys up, right? Like you're getting guys that are not household names, but they fit the team well, they fit the Harbaugh system well, all that sort of thing, right?
Outside of the Broncos, the Chargers have low-key have a youth movement. Like they've got some dudes that can play, man. I mean, we've had some healthy scratches these last couple games, and that's Tony Jefferson and Will Dissly. Will Dissly, at a time a few years ago, was considered the best blocking tight end in the league. Now, he did deal with a knee injury this season, but he's been a healthy scratch these last 2 weeks. I expect to see him back after this bye because, damn, do they desperately need some blocking. And then Tony Jefferson, safety, really good safety. He's been a healthy scratch for a rookie, RJ Mickens, and we've got a youth movement. Now, the caveat, Richie, is not the O-line because they decided to hire a guy by the name of Mike Devlin, who has never in his career in the NFL had a good resume as being an offensive line coach. He has had like lower ranked O-lines his whole damn near career. And it's like they hire him like, I don't get it.
What you're saying is that's very much like the Broncos when they hired.
Now, if I'm just hoping they fire our F and OC, buddy.
Yeah. So you're talking when we went ahead and went out and got our Shermer as our offensive coordinator. So Pat Shermer has basically never fielded an offense that's been better than what was it like? I think his number one offense was ranked something like 13th or 15th in the NFL, and all other offenses that he's fielded have been in like the upper 20s. So it's like you're like lower half of the league on average as your overall average in your offense. And then the Broncos went ahead and brought him in. And not to go back on the Broncos here, but this is exactly what happened when we had Drew Lock as our quarterback. This is what happens with so many teams when they don't allow their young quarterback to develop with the same offensive coordinator when they start to kind of get better. Is we had Scangarillo, who was our offensive coordinator for the back part, or at least the whole season, and Drew Lock stepped in and went 4-1 to close out the year. Then you fire Scangarillo, get rid of him. Drew Lock starts the next year and looks like trash because you bring in Shermer, who doesn't have an offensive scheme that fits Drew Lock. Scangarillo played the outside zone, like the style that we're kind of generally playing now, right? Like the outside zone run game. And it's just not good. Anyways, so
I mean, and there's another thing that's kind of about this is Harbaugh is like too loyal to his guys. Like he brought in his guys, almost damn near this whole staff. It's a large staff too. They're all his guys, and Roman seems to be following him around every time makes a stop in the NFL. And I mean, in my opinion, and if he wants to be successful in today's NFL, he needs to quit the guy because outside of 1 year, he's not been successful. Let me see what he says. I do not see the chart. Injuries have killed you. Fire now. I mean, I like your optimism.
I agree with what Nav is saying here, and then I disagree with a portion of what he's saying here because, as an example, now no team is going to be able to fully replace a guy like Joe Alt. No team is going to ever be able to fully replace a guy like Slater, right? Like ever. But the question is, who do you have that's behind them that can actually step in if you needed, even in a live game, if they didn't get hurt? And like, I'm not convinced that your team.
I thought you were talking coaching here.
No. I'm referring to like the actual player personnel that your front office has put in place in the depth pieces in the various spots across the O-line.
That was a huge hit and miss. These last two seasons, Richie, under this Harbaugh regime, huge hit or miss. I think they they weren't familiar with the Chargers curse. Let's just say, Jim took this job. He was wine and dined and paid handsomely to come to LA, handed over the keys to the kingdom, and wasn't really familiar with this curse that the Chargers have with injuries. And they didn't do a good job in depth, and it showed in both drafts. I mean, outside of Joe Alt, that's damn near the only offensive line that they've took. And what was it last year, 2 years ago, that center draft where I think the Raiders got JPJ, like heavy in O-line, or it might have been last year, another heavy offensive line draft, and they took Branson Taylor, who can't even touch the field, So it's been a huge hit or miss, and they went cheap on Becton, and they didn't invest in other areas, and they doubled down on Bradley Bozeman. Even after last year putting up a piss poor performance, they're like, let's just extend this guy, and they did the same thing with Bud Dupree, who might as well not even, be our fourth edge right now. And real quick, because I know it's getting long, they can save $3 million cutting Bozeman next year, $3.5 million cutting Dupree, and they can damn near save $10 million cutting Becton next year. Now, does that do them any favors? Yes and no, because you have to find guys to replace them. But
right,
which is easier said than done. And I think this outside of quarterback, another issue that the NFL is having is offensive line play. And it's only very few teams have really good O-lines, in my opinion. And it's another epidemic, I guess. That's just the way I see it.
Well, that speaks back to your comment earlier in the show, DZ, about college.
It's this whole NIL.
It's a college problem, right? Like
NIL is ruining college.
Well, it is and it isn't. So, like as an example, there's a few counterproductive things that are happening in college, which I think we haven't given enough negative credit to. In terms of it's an anchor on quality of play when it comes the flow from college into the NFL. Number one is betting. So college betting is flowing in through the colleges and all that sort of stuff. The NIL, kind of like basically the money train, is starting to drag down the players and the quality of play, because it is just a wait and see game until I can potentially make it to the NFL, and then we'll see where I go from there. That is no way to prepare yourself to become a professional athlete. And then number two, I think the other problem that we have here is the college game itself has gone so overly offensive heavy in the fact that they're looking for offensive mismatches in the game to make it look like flashy and interesting and like just like visually weird and awesome and whiz bang, if you will. That you've lost the game of football. You've lost the nuances of zone blocking and power and all of these other offensive blocking schemes that used to exist at the college level that just no longer exist at the college level.
There's some teams that still do what we like, Richie, what me and you particularly like in the offensive line. And one in particular, and that's the Iowa Hawkeyes. Their O-line right now could beat out who the Chargers have. They're starting five. I think they have two guys in this upcoming draft. But thankfully, there's other sickos out there that I'm, in the Chargers fan base who are already looking towards this draft and doing research on. And there's a lot of good offensive linemen. Rich Jack, I'm sure you probably like that. There are some good guys coming out. So, this is where we hope Jack and my team that they go out and then invest in the offensive line, because man, boy, did they miss when they.
Yeah, but this is the problem though. Is how deep did you have to go to find a team or a couple of teams or even like 10 teams to list where you're sitting there saying, I have seen that guy or that group of guys play enough of the type of plays where I would feel confident to say that group or that guy can 100% transition to the NFL and kill it.
Right. I mean, you've got to look at their traits.
You used to have that all the time. Like you used to have that all the time where you like it was insane. It was insane.
It's tougher now. It's tougher now in the NIL era in college. The one thing I look at is I was talking to somebody today, and what you look in is you really want them at minimum to be a 3-year starter, right? You look at their traits and their tendencies, and that's penalties and pressures. You want to make sure that those are very low. And that's that's your hopes on them. But another thing people don't realize is when you draft these guys, you still need to develop them when they get to the NFL. And the one thing about offensive linemen is it's usually, except for some rare cases like Joe Wall, like JPJ, it's you draft and they are not immediate starters. These guys are in development usually in year one before they make their debut. I mean, to Richie's point, back in the day might have been longer, but now everything is now, hurry. But so yeah, it's a problem, and it's
no, but it's also strength and conditioning back in the day. Like as an example, when you look at some of these offensive linemen when they came into the draft, like through the NFL draft, most of these offensive linemen were coming in having run block a ton, which basically meant that the majority, or at least a reasonable percentage of their college careers, were spent basically pushing other men that were of equal or larger size to themselves off of the football to allow the running back to get downfield.
Yeah.
That takes a certain level of conditioning, and that takes a certain level of aggression on the offensive side of the ball that you're just simply not really seeing in the college game this currently at least.
In the vast
It's all
majority.
going fast,
I mean like the majority, like as
and
in like
to be
huge.
fair, Rich, like that's kind of what the NFL has gone towards, and we're seeing the resurgence of the running game.
Yes.
So it's always like, one gets away and it's always got to play catch up, and it just does this whole thing, and we'll always have those imbalances. But I think we overall agree that, quarterback and offensive line, are the biggest needs in the NFL right now. And yeah.
Sorry, on the quarterback one, Jack, this is going to be interesting for you to hear, and I never thought I'd ever say this out loud in my life, actually. I mean, ever. Which was, I saw one of the best clips I have ever seen online talk about the quarterback position and go into like a really like intellectual and frankly spot on rant about the quarterback position and the NFL. Do you know who the guy that was talking about it and who I'm referring to?
No, I haven't seen it.
Tom Brady.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like I was like, I never thought that I would ever find myself in a position where I would be like, I can't, like Tom Brady, like, yes, like that guy's amazing. I can't believe that I love the things that he's talking about and all that kind of stuff. He killed it, like in his analysis. Like I don't mean just like I don't just mean that like, hey, that was not a bad take. Like I mean I was listening to like what he was saying and I was like,
I think Richie, I think Tom Brady does those great analysis on play. I think he's a horrible commentator. I mean, he's probably getting a little bit better, but when you can just get him, it's like Gruden. I don't know if you guys ever watch clips of Gruden.
His channel's amazing. Gruden's channel's amazing. It's amazing.
I could watch Gruden.
He's got that big whiteboard, and he's got like about 8 rows of different stuff that he'll go down on everything. And
man, if I was in the NFL, that would be one guy I would love to have played for. Would be John Gruden. Like the way how he communicates. I mean, he's no nonsense. He's old school. I would love to see him getting back in the NFL, but I doubt it. I feel like he's being blackballed. But with Brady, I love hearing him talk too, especially about the quarterback. He's super detailed and he gets in the nitty gritty, but let's get him up there with the commentating, because man, him commentating, I'm like, it's like Collinsworth level in Romo to me.
Yeah.
He's not that exciting as a commentator, that's for sure. But when you got a guy who's got 7 rings, whatever he says, you got to, especially talking about QBs, you got to listen to.
Yeah, man.
Well, the one thing I love about what he said was that the college game is not doing these quarterbacks any favors in the schemes and how they're playing.
Nope.
And because they're throwing the ball all over the field, but all of the rules and all of the way in which the game is played it basically makes it so that the quarterback doesn't actually need to assess, dissect, and react to the defense. They just simply need to throw to the best athlete on the field and the way they go. And that's really what's happening in the college game for the most part, is that it's just this like track meet of a game, as opposed to chess, which is what it used to be when a lot of these other guys were coming out of
another thing,
college
Rich,
game.
is they're bouncing from team to team to team to team.
Correct.
And,
yes.
Or they're not, sitting and, redshirting and then, working their way up. Like Alabama used to have all those guys.
Correct. And this is the other take that, like, you've heard me say this multiple times on the show. Brady, funnily enough, is right in lockstep with a lot of my comments. He wants the NFL to bring back those like rock'em sock'em hits in the middle of the field.
Sure, he does, now that he's out of the league.
Well, no. He doesn't want the hits on the quarterback because he's like, protect the quarterback, yada yada yada. But his whole thing is that what those hits against teammates of yours as a quarterback, what they did for the quarterback position is they forced you to think about the safety of your teammates as you were throwing the ball to them as a quarterback on the field.
Not and hanging out to dry.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. And that's exactly what he was kind of saying in one of his takes I was listening to recently. I was like, what a great point, because your teammate is going to come back to you and see what was that crap? What are you doing? And there was a feedback loop that came back and forth from the quarterback and his skill players to basically force him to actually play the game the right way. And not throw the ball, basically what they used to call hospital balls, right? Like back in the day, those were the hospital balls, whereas like you knew that dude was not getting up after he got hit, right?
Dude,
and
I was starting D lineman, and then I'd play scout, running back, or wherever they needed me. And long story short, I was dating our D coordinator who would run our scout team. I was dating his goddaughter. And he heard I broke up with her or something that week. So he threw me a hospital ball. This was my junior year. He threw me a hospital ball to our starting safety, laid me the F out. He knew what he was doing. He just threw one up. He's like, Wilson, I'm going to, threw me this deep pass. I'm looking back, because that wasn't my game. I usually took handoffs. I'm looking back and just got freaking clocked, just boom. I'm like, oh God, but hospital balls are a thing.
You need to break up with your girlfriend in the off season, not during the season.
So he was also our gym teacher. He made that same. I think it was either that same day. He made us all do push-ups and run and stuff too. He's like, thank Wilson for that. I'm like, what? Yeah.
Your teammates are thank you, DZ, for making us do all these push-ups and stuff. Yeah. And again, you look at also these college kids now, they're getting money to transfer pool, so they're changing their stuff up, not sticking with one type of systems. They're learning multiple systems as they go. And there is very few, I look at like my Notre Dame, my favorite college team, Notre Dame, when they do it the right way, they make these guys go, after for run blocking. And then you can see that they're great run blockers. I mean, you look at Jeremiah Love, who's in the Heisman Trophy, talk. You got Price, who is definitely going to be a, very the bottom end first round, maybe top of second, first round in the way of, being draft pick for running backs. So some teams, do it right. But yeah, it's kind of gone to this so much of a pass blocking league that they're not getting enough reps. And, and that's going to be a thing from my team is when you got a season that's over. And again, and I guess I'm just going to kick on it because guys, I just haven't been feeling all that good tonight. So I apologize, but
what is it? Has it been 3 times already?
Yep.
So to the chat, Jack Kenna has not been feeling well, and he's thrown up 3 times on this show. This is what a trooper, what a badass, the epitome of being a Raiders fan. What are you guys, 2-7 right now, Jack?
2-8.
2-8 or whatever, and you're doing this show. You're sick. Salute to Jack Kenna.
Well, thank you, bro. I think so. My game was a blowout, kind of just like your game, BZ. Raiders got spanked 33-16. I mean, it was so bad. At one point, I fell asleep. Like you turned it off and walked away.
Yeah.
I fell asleep in the third quarter. So that's how bad the Raiders are playing. And again, I keep going back. I keep talking about the same type of things. I feel like, compete doesn't compete. Compete is now kind of like remind me of Biden. Sleepy Joe is kind of where I'm starting to get that feeling for the way he's directing his team.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, an offensive coordinator. So, asking Genty, you draft a guy at the number 6 pick, and he doesn't get used very much in any given game. And we had 2 rushes? Again, Dallas's defense, they did get Quentin Williams.
Yeah.
And they did get one other person, but they have one of the worst defenses overall in the NFL. And you only give Genty 2 touches in the first half. It's like it's ridiculous. And it's like you're making Geno. Again, what does every team want to do? We all want to make the other team one-dimensional.
Right.
And this team is doing one-dimensional right from the get-go. Is what they're doing. So it's like it makes no sense when Geno's leading the NFL in interceptions, and you're not going to try to run the ball to take some of that off of Geno. And what was really obvious is you can even see it in the Denver game. You can see it in the Cowboys game when the defense does not respect that you're going to run the ball or capable of running the ball. Well, they only need to rush 4, kind of like what Duval did against the Chargers.
They pinned your ears back.
Yep. And what I'm seeing is that now Brock Bowers is getting so much more double coverage because he's really the only viable, weapon pretty much on the team after getting rid of Jacoby Myers. So it's been the Brock Bowers show, and then Genty coming out of the backfield and throwing him the ball. So it's like, and again, that's not going to be your deep threat. So you don't have the deep threat because Thornton is not producing. He doesn't even play that much anymore. They're not using their second round pick in Besh very much. So it's like everything's in the shorter field. You don't have to bring everybody. You're getting in on that offensive line. And the play calling from Chip, it just makes your head scratch. So I don't think Chip is going to be here. So if you want an offensive coordinator, I think Chip Kelly might be available for you, DZ, because
no, thanks.
I really don't think I want him here anymore. But and then of course Brennan Carroll. So again, JPJ, we talked about this on a multitude of shows. Why does he have to compete with Kappa? And then he goes out into. So then last week against Denver, we had Putnam, who was a backup center playing the left guard. Meredith at center, and then Kappa. Well, this week they mix it up again. So they took Meredith out of the center position, put Putnam out there, and they benched Kappa. So Meredith has not even played a snap the whole year at right guard. So it's like this makeshift. They can't even get it right when they switch these guys up.
Jack, so it's almost like self-sabotage.
Right. And you get that feeling. It almost makes it like, hey, Pete's trying to do this on purpose.
No. I have a question for you, though.
Go ahead.
Do you think that this is Brendan Carroll? My point, do you think that this is a Brendan Carroll problem? Who is basically way over his skis, has no clue what he's doing, and is literally trying to go back to Dad and say, Dad, we're just trying to find the best 5, man. We're just trying to find the best 5, dude. I'm going to totally get it this time. Don't worry. We'll eventually get there. And is obviously failing miserably. To me, what it screams is a guy that is claiming that he thinks he knows what he's doing by changing everything every game. and is unable or incapable of evaluating talent on the offensive line using an accurate matrix to say, you're good, you're not, you're good, you're not, and kind of think of it like a constricting net, right? You kind of rotate guys in and out at the tackle position or from the outside in or the inside out, where you find the guy that's really good at center, and then you kind of work your way out until you then find the best two guards, and then you work your way out until you find the best tackles, or you work from the outside in, tackles, guards, center. Like, it just seems like there's no rhyme or reason to the approach.
I mean,
No.
they have what, 10 weeks, Jack, of film? I mean, we know what O-line work for your guys' team. We saw it last season before Pete Carroll got there.
Right. And Richie, again, you hit it on the head, and that's what I've been saying. It's like, if Brendan Carroll, if his last name wasn't Carroll, he would have been fired at the same time as McMahon, our special teams coordinator. I mean, it's just a given. And then you put that in conjunction with play calling by our offensive coordinator, bad quarterback play. I mean, it's got a disaster written all over it. So it's like, you got all these pieces, none of the pieces are meshing. It's not looking, good. And then, of course, you get like Pete, which, again, he's starting to remind me of Joe Biden. It's like, okay, the season's over. We got to look forward to like what we can potentially do next year. And we got to kind of figure that out. We got 2 third-round offensive linemen that have not seen the field one play when this offensive line has been so bad. And you got to, again, we talked about, you brought up the draft. Well, I've been thinking about the draft for a couple weeks now, and we got to see what we got with these young guys. And Pete is not the Pete Carroll that I remember. His excuse this time was like, I'm putting the best guys out there is what I'm doing. Well, if your best guys are not doing very good and we're getting blown out game after game, and you just look at, what the numbers are, and I'll go through a couple here in a second on the O-line. Why are these young kids not getting the opportunities? Genty got 6 carries the whole game, and he's your 6th overall pick. Jack Besh, your 2nd round pick, had 1 target, 1 catch. Thornton, I don't even remember him seeing the field. Both, and he's a 4th rounder. Again, the 2 offensive linemen haven't seen the field once the whole season. Then you go to the defense. So this is the one thing I will say that I was happy to see is their 4th rounder in Tonka Hemingway. He's the one player I can say played great ball besides like Max. He got in, he deflected a pass, he recovered a fumble. So it was great to see him out there because you know what? Because guys like Kuntz and Tyree Wilson, the guys that are out there right now, they're probably not going to be on the team next year. Because I don't see Tyree, you can do the 5th-year option. That ain't going to happen. He ain't worth that type of money. Kuntz is on a 1-year deal, hasn't shown anything, so he's probably going to be gone. So I want to see these young guys get out there, and Pete is not playing these young kids. So I see this thing like, Spytek and Pete, kind of want to go totally different directions. And there's already been talk, with, again, our offensive coordinator and Kelly may be gone. Pete Carroll, I don't see them firing him, but, kind of like what Seattle did, maybe this step down approach, so he saves face. But who knows? He could be here next year. But what I just see what the things that Pete used to do are things that Pete have not done this year. And it's definitely, it's wearing on this team. And there's a division, somewhat in the locker room. Even one of their better defensive tackles, Butler, says, hey, we all know what the issue is. And without saying what the issue is, which is the issue is the offense.
Read this. Is this true?
What's that? I gotta put it on screen.
Gino made a huge mistake on his presser, calling out Raider Nation as part of the problem. Did Gino really call out Raider Nation?
I don't know. I didn't see it. I didn't see his pressure.
Jesus.
But I believe now. If he did that, it's even worse.
The dumbest thing you can do.
The one thing you don't do, you don't call out the nation because it's all about the shield. It's not about the
one thing
player.
I've seen about the Raider Nation, especially the old heads, is they're very loyal to the players. They're loyal, like even if the players have a bad game, you know, like, but if a Raiders that's Max's MO, right? Like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
he feeds off of, you know, Raiders Nation and stuff like that. But if Gino, like, God, that's like suicide. It might as well be.
Yeah, that is definitely. So you're going to end up like, you know, certain other players get on that, you know, that blacklist. Like Jamarcus Russell would be one. You know, he just a bad player. Or like a Randy Moss, who's a Hall of Famer, but a lot of Raider fans don't like him because he didn't try. Or a Warren Sapp. You feel like the guy's just here for a paycheck. Antonio Brown is another one. Yeah. And there's the other Brown that they got, offensive lineman they got from the Patriots. So like the FAB crew. But, you know, going back to the, you know, this offensive line, and again, you're not getting anywhere. So like in the way of the, you know, like I brought up a couple weeks ago with, you know, getting hit behind the line of scrimmage with this offensive line. So before contact for the running game, they're getting 0.66 yards. So you're basically just taking a step, right? And there's somebody in your face before first contact.
And I mean, let's look at your running back to begin with, right? So subpar offensive line, right, with an OC who doesn't seem to be doing you guys any favors, with a struggling quarterback, and you have this Ferrari essentially in a trailer park right now, and that's Ashton Genty. And, you know, he's not physically giant, right? So a lot of times physics comes into play with this guy. So that's probably that whole stat right there, what you just said, which just sucks for him. But, you know, I hate looking into next year, but like, you know, I could see with a different OC, I could see Ashton Genty actually having his breakout, you know what I mean? Kind of being utilized correctly behind a proper offensive line, but it's a lot of ifs, you know. We see the struggles.
Absolutely.
As well.
And that's for the whole team. So that, you know, that 0.66 is also counting Mozart in there as well too. So in the way of the offensive line allowing pressure, again, this is for the average for the whole year, 43.1% of dropbacks, the quarterback's getting pressured. Yeah. And that's for the whole season, which is sixth worst in the entire NFL. Let's see, the quick sacks, pressure rates is 19.6, and the average sack time is the quickest in the NFL to get it, which is 2.99 seconds. So this offensive line is Swiss cheese, and this is where I don't, again, going back to Pete, well, this is the production you're getting out of your son managing this offensive line. This is the production you're getting from your offensive coordinator. Why, and again, with the offensive line, why are these young kids, when, again, we don't know what we have because they have not seen the field? Can it really be any worse than what we have out there? But at least these young kids are the future, where, you know, a Parham is going to be gone next year. Kappa is going to be gone next year.
Your team and my team have some very common stuff in some certain positions, and it's just like, it almost is like, are you like, so as a fan, right? Especially you and especially me, it's like, do you think we're idiots? Like, are you trolling us? Do you think we're stupid? Like, we've been watching this game the majority of our lives, right? Albeit we're not in that room, we're not in that coaching staff, but you know what they did to your guys' O-line and mixing and matching players that we know should be in certain spots. It's malpractice, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense when, you know, you got this pedigree and you're getting paid money to do this. I mean, shoot, I could go in there and do a better job and putting guys out there on the field. You know, I don't know the techniques, but I don't think he's teaching any techniques though either. So it's just so bad that, again, looking at the draft again. So, you know, Richie, you're looking at, okay, again, like I said last week, guys are looking at where the positions are going to be and so forth. You know what I looked at, you know, when the game was over, I'm like looking, okay, where are the Raiders now in the draft order? Which is kind of a bummer because we didn't even move up. We got a loss, and we still didn't move up.
Where you at right now?
We're at 6.
Okay.
So we're tied with 3 other teams, you know, for the that are 2 and 8. But our strength of schedule is higher So we get the last of those, the 2 and 8. So we could be as high as third right now. And then you can start looking at going, who is that offensive lineman, or who is that quarterback?
Yeah.
Or again, maybe looking at some of the players, maybe a defensive end, because again, the defense ends might be gone. I want offensive line more than anything else, because I'm kind of looking at the 2027 draft, going, I think there's going to be even better quarterbacks out there. And here's a dilemma. So I brought this up on a previous show, like how bad that Geno's been. But again, he doesn't have a lot to work with either. So with Geno, if they were to cut him, the dead cap would only be 18.5 mil. Doable. But what I did hear, and didn't know this until today, is that if you keep him, he's only going to cost you $8 million. It's all a front-loaded contract. So, hey, if you get that quarterback, let him run out there for a game or two. Let the young guy develop, kind of what Richie wanted to do the year one with Bo. Right. And if he does bad, then bring the young kid in, because it's only going to cost you $8 million more than the 18.5. So, yeah, he might be an expensive backup for 1 year, but you're really not saving that much more money versus paying him. So I almost can't wait for this season to get over with, because this is so bad that I can't stand guys like, Josh McDaniels. And I thought that team was so bad. And then, all the predecessors for coaches, this feels like it's worse than even what those guys have done.
Yeah.
So I will say this. I am crossing my fingers. So I am already looking forward to potential, like hoping certain people get let go next year. As for an OC, again, head coach, I got a list of guys, but we'll wait and see for that. But for OC, I'm really hoping the head coach from Miami gets canned. I think McDaniels, he's a guy that needs to stay as an OC, not be a head coach. But he does his job well when he is an OC. So
I agree.
I would love to see him come over and get rid of Chip in the way of just kind of some fun ones. I thought about this, okay, if Pete did get fired, hypotheticals, who were some of the guys that, you can kind of look at, and there's not maybe the best one is like Clint Kubiak would be something that I would be interested in. Maybe a Joe Brady, or, and I would even, when you brought up John Gruden earlier, which a lot of people in the chat will probably say, no. But honestly, until John, got forced off the team by the NFL, he progressed every year. He did better and better and better.
And Nav's having a connection.
I don't want him as someone who drafts a single player. No, not a GM. Well, I just look at, hey, Nav, compared to what we've gone through since John, it doesn't look like we've gotten worse.
The thing about Mike McDaniels, I've been hearing this ever since the Dolphins really had this season, had a lot of BS go on. I heard for some reason ownership really likes him. So I don't think he's going anywhere, but I agree. He would be an excellent OC anywhere in this league. Just
McDaniels.
That goofball. Yeah. I think if he's up in a booth up there vaping in his joggers, that's totally fine. But down on the field, man, I don't see how any NFL player looks like this guy as a leader of their team. Not at all.
He reminds me of the lead singer of Weezer.
I could see that. Yeah.
He's a metro.
He's a goofball, but man, he's off that McVay or Shannon tree or whatever it is, and they just have it, man. Those guys just have it.
He is the problem with McDaniels is that he is actually a very gifted football mind. He really is, honestly and truly.
Yeah.
I think that his issue is that it is a difficult transition to go from running your side of the ball to then running the entire team. Well, and it's a learning experience. So just because you didn't do well at it once doesn't mean you can't actually excel at it the second go round. One guy that I predict is going to be the head coach of the Giants is my defensive coordinator, actually.
Oh, I've heard the Chiefs defensive coordinator
for the Giants.
Yeah. So I've heard
Yeah.
2 D coordinators.
Yeah.
Looks like that seems to be the trend or rumor because it was Dayball was the OC kind of guy, but I heard Spags and Vance.
VJ.
Yeah.
Now VJ, in my opinion, has a bit of an edge. He's already kind of gone through the head coach like ebb and flow, so he kind of knows what to expect as a head coach. So this gives him the potential opportunity to kind of say, no, I've got it.
Spags was a head coach somewhere long time ago. Does anybody remember?
No, I don't remember, but I just remember he wasn't good at being a head coach. Like he was better to stay in his lane. And now I'm not saying to fire Pete Carroll because you know what? I agree. I don't want the turnover, but I just feel like, he needs to like change some of his ways because again, he's looking like Sleepy Joe. He's Sleepy Joe Pete now. So,
dude, yeah, man. And I feel that way. Like, I know exactly what you're saying, Jack, because I feel that way sometimes with Jim throughout the season. Jim's, some of his responses to questions have given me that Sleepy Joe auto pen vibe. And then some of his game management, clock management has been just horrible. Like, dude, get with the times, man. Your game management needs to be on a higher level. Some guy, I don't know if he's still in the chat. He asked, I don't know how he knew my name, but I don't know if he said my name, but Nikki, you think they're going to go O-line first round? Was he talking? Who is this guy talking to? Is he talking to me?
I don't know.
I don't know how he knew my my government name.
Oh,
I wish I wish Richie was still in here. He'd have that funny. But if he was asking me that question, I think he meant, are they going to go offense? Again.
Well, I think both our teams are. I think in reality, I can see even Denver. Denver's so loaded on defense.
What's up, Zigzag? How's it going, man?
The Raiders are so inept. Hey, what's up? What's up, Zigzag? But you're so inept on offense. That's your weak spot too. Is more on your offense. So I can see all 3 teams doing offense in next year's draft.
There's a caveat to that too, because Khalil Mack, he's only signed a 1-year deal. The Odafe Owe guy that we traded with the Ravens for, he's on a 1-year. So they're going to need another edge. So I could see, in that first round, wherever they land, getting an edge. But personally, I would love for them to take either center, guard, or tackle. And I've got names galore, just not on the top of my head, but there's a lot of good prospects coming out.
Yeah, the one I've kind of looked at a little bit is the offensive tackle. I forgot his name, but the offensive tackle from Utah is the guy I've been kind of targeting. He's the highest rated, tackle that's coming out. So hopefully they'll look at him. But also, again, in the way of like the guys that are, again, because Chip Kelly has just been so bad. And, other guys you could bring in as an offensive coordinator is like, Duval to be one.
This guy thinks that we have a studio parking lot. I think that's he says we gave each other hand jobs in a studio parking lot. Dude, I wish we had a studio parking lot. You freaking turd.
Oh boy.
Like your mom's basement, homie.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, I had to quickly step out. Literally a pack of coyotes just came through the entire back of my property and my dog was outside.
Oh, geez.
My fiance came running in here. She's like, you need to go outside. You need to get the dog in. You need to get the dog in.
That would have been a snap, man.
Yeah.
So I ran out and grabbed him and brought him inside. Sorry about that. But yeah, it's a thing. I live with a big forest all in behind me and stuff, and every once in a while there's a pack of about 20 to 30 coyotes that circle through the area here. So I
grew up in Southern California, which is like coyote heaven, and where I currently live, I've never seen one, but everybody was like, oh, I saw a coyote my whole time living here. And then my wife came, she said on base they have huge coyote packs, and now we're starting to see them. And I heard there was a stat about Coyotes that they're like almost in every city now in the U.S. or maybe Canada too.
Yeah.
They're like they're amazing creatures, man, but they're pests.
Yeah. So where I'm at right now, I'm in this weird mix where there are coyote wolf crosses
Oh, I was like,
because we have wolves and coyotes where I am, as
yeah,
well
we
as
have dogs coyote mixes, but
yeah.
wolf.
Yeah, so we got wolf coyote crosses and they're vicious. Those things are just mammoth. And then there's also some wolf packs just a little bit further north of me, not by much. But anyways, it's they will jump fences, they'll rip dogs apart, they'll go after cattle like as packs and stuff too. They'll go like they're vicious here just because they're a cross. You have intermixed. Anyways, it is what it is, but we'll go from
Look
that.
up a
Well,
coyote.
I'm glad your puppy's safe, Richie.
Yeah, look up
Yeah.
coyote fishing.
Yeah.
So
There's people I've known that do coyote fishing, and it's crazy.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's why I had to quickly run off there. I do apologize. So, Jack, you had like I said, it was, or like we were talking about, you have some interesting games coming up. You've had an interesting game against the Cowboys. I kind of thought it was going to look a little bit like it did over the weekend, and I actually think I mentioned it on the last show that I think the Cowboys' defensive additions, especially Quinnen Williams, was like he's a difference maker. Like he's a guy that literally
absolutely.
he's a guy that moves the needle on almost any team that he goes to. He is that good. like he's not just one of those, hey, I fit a scheme. He kind of fits almost every scheme.
Dude, I thought I had
Right.
one easy freaking game remaining on our schedule, and then I looked at those two. I'm like, God damn it, man.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully your team plays a lot better than my team, because it was an embarrassing shit show, to say the least. And I just look at the rest of the schedule, and again, this is why I'm already kind of looking towards next year. And again, I don't believe in tanking, but I don't think the Raiders are good enough to tank. That's how bad it is. I look at the remaining schedule. I got the Browns, I got your Chargers, and I got the Broncos. I got the Eagles, the Texans, and then the only other one that's a potential out there is the Giants. So out of those, there's really only two teams.
Like they have a very good defense.
Who'd you say?
Right.
Who's that?
The New York Giants.
Giants.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
That defensive front is good, because I watched the Chargers, your Chargers versus the Giants, and yeah, that defensive front looked damn good.
Stupid East Coast game, but that's when that was like the emergence of Dart and Scatabo, which was the creatine Caucasians, man, went off.
Hey, thank you, Vic.
At least you don't have to face
if you notice tonight, I'm drinking water because I haven't been feeling so hot. So thank you, Vic. I appreciate that. Usually it's Sierra Nevada.
So with the light week coming up, I think it's time to look ahead to some quick score predictions before we sign off and go from there. Obviously, DZ, you and I we are neither going to win nor lose this week.
I mean, you can lose a bye week. Somehow my team will figure out how to lose a damn bye week.
Yeah. So, I mean, in fairness, I think the Chiefs lost the bye week last year with their car race thing. So, I guess it is possible. So let's collectively hope. Let's collectively hope that the top portion of the panel here.
I know Justin. I know he's back up in Oregon right now because his girlfriend's posting pictures of her up in Oregon. So this guy's like, man, screw Jacksonville. I mean, maybe it's a blessing and a curse with that he's with Madison Beer.
Yeah.
I don't know. 20.
I'd say the Raiders actually lost a bye week too when Brennan or Al Davis's wife Carol Davis passed away and George Atkins passed away. So yeah, you can lose the bye week. So the Raiders found a way to do it. But yeah, since we got the only game is going to be the Raiders versus Cleveland, and it's Raiders are at home in this one. Can't believe it. The Raiders are actually a 4-point favorite, which is the biggest the most points they've been favored by the whole year. So you got two inept offenses. I mean, both offenses that are bad. So I see this being a really low scoring game.
Same.
And the only thing I will say is I am looking forward, with Cleveland, is that what's his name? And I dropped mental blank on it. But their first round draft pick was the guy I wanted last year. Mason Graham. So I'm looking forward to see what he does. So that'll be kind of fun. But yeah, it's going to be it's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be an exciting game. I think it's going to be a slow pace game. Old school offenses aren't going to do anything. I think the defenses will do well for both sides. So the Raiders haven't won a game in such a long time. I can't choose them to win another game until they actually win a game. So I got the Raiders losing, actually. Sorry, Nav. Got the Raiders losing 13-17, but they'll find a way to mess up their draft next year and probably win this game. And then we'll miss out on the player that we could have got that would really help this team to get something that doesn't help out as much. So I can see them messing themselves up like they did a couple years ago. But
Nav, you're pretty close to Richie and I's score.
I didn't even look. Sorry, God.
Except for our Chiefs prediction. Richie and I are opposite on that one. I got the Raiders winning this game. It's going to come with some pain, obviously with Max Crosby.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got you guys winning 17, Browns 16. I got it being super low scoring, and I got you guys winning by 1 point, Jack. Whether you like it or not.
Yeah, it's a at this point in time, we're not going anywhere. So a win is a win. It's great, but at the same time, it's a loss. So
Jerry, we're paid by the government to check all your VPN and addresses. So all these comments. We're a secret government organization. That's how we make our money. Richie, what's your score?
Well, Jerry, I'm a male prostitute by trade.
I thought you were going to say anything.
Business,
I thought you were going to tell anybody about that.
The gigolo business is a lucrative one. I'm able to live in a very nice house in a nice area up here in Canada.
It's true.
I mean, they do call me the sexy Viking for a reason, with the beard.
True.
So it is what it is. But thank you, Jerry, for joining the show. Despite your comments, click that like button, because I mean, why not, right? And we'll go from there. Oh, come on now. You got to have some fun with it. So I have the exact same or a similar score in this game, Jack. My prediction is that your Raiders defense is going to be a little bit too much for the Browns. I do think that with the right blend of things that you can kind of push back or hold off the Browns in this one, especially if you get Genty going and stick with it, because that was the key. Stick with it. So I have this as a 19-17 game for the Raiders. I have it as a slightly higher scoring game than you did, DZ, but let's be real. We're basically talking the same score,
right?
For all intents and purposes. I do have the Raiders squeaking this one out and winning it. That is my prediction.
That is not the right opponent for the Chiefs.
Oh, and I will say it's going to be interesting too. Sanders is going to get his first start too for the Browns.
This is one of the reasons I picked you guys.
Yeah. So, Jack, what's your score prediction there? And we'll go from there.
I got it. I got the Raiders losing 13-17.
Wow.
So you're basically inverted. So you're almost the exact inverse of what DZ and I have, because we're basically, if we're going to be honest, we're basically talking the same score and the same style of game, right?
Right.
Just like calling a duck here. What you're saying is your team's going to lose and the Browns are going to win. And basically what DZ and I are saying, like, ultimately here, we're talking the exact same outcome. It's just who wins. You're saying your team loses.
Correct.
DZ and I are saying your team wins. So we'll see what happens.
And it's kind of funny. It's in the way of picking these scores. Whenever I pick the Raiders to win, they've lost. Every time I pick the Raiders to lose, I got it right. So I'm 100% on one and horrible on the other. So, but the Raiders make it nice and easy for me.
Yeah. So moving on to the other game within the division, and obviously without the Chiefs guy here, there was a couple guys that were invited onto the show that weren't able to make it today that are on the Chiefs side of things. So we are hoping to bring someone in to join us on the show for the Chiefs angle, which would be lovely to have back. DZ, let's throw over to you with your Chiefs prediction first, and then I'll go to Jack, and then I'll close out the show.
So the Chiefs play the Colts this week. Colts, very good team, really good team, but not on the same level defensively as the Broncos. Offensively, it's a different story. They've kind of stumbled a little bit these last couple weeks, the Indianapolis Colts, but still right up there. Chiefs are desperate, very desperate. They did some things against the Broncos I kind of liked, and I can see them kind of doing that to the Colts on a higher level, executing, better. They're not going against an elite secondary that the Broncos have. I unfortunately, guys, have the Chiefs taking this 27, Colts 20, and I didn't want to pick them, but that's just the way I see it, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
I hope you're wrong too. All right, I'm going the same path. I look at, Kansas City has definitely, the Colts is a hot team. They are a very hot team. And they could beat any team in the NFL any given Sunday, that's for sure. But I feel like, with the pedigree of Kansas City and what they've done, their backs are up against the wall. This is really it. If they win out, they could potentially make the playoffs. But if they don't win this game, they're definitely done. So since they're going to be under pressure and they know how to play in the playoffs when their backs are against the wall, I really feel like they're going to squeak this one out. But I do see it being a high-scoring game as a whole. So I have it. I said 27-24, Kansas City. I forgot. What did you say, DZ?
I said 27-20, Chiefs.
Okay, so we're the same on what KC and just 4 points off on the Colts.
Okay.
So, yeah, we both got them winning. How about you, Richie?
So I'm in an interesting position. So I do agree. I think the Colts are a bit of a hot team this year. They've kind of come out and surprised a lot of NFL fans. And frankly, I just think overall shocked the NFL a little bit in terms of just how good they are. They are also a very well-rounded team overall. Like their defense isn't like elite, but
it's still really good.
They're certainly really good. Like let's put it this way: the Broncos team is in an elite category right now.
They are
in almost all statistical categories.
I think you would be. There's only probably 3 or 4 elite defenses. Yeah. I would say it'd be Broncos, Texans, Eagles, maybe one other team. I don't know.
Yeah. So when you look at where the Broncos defense is right now in terms of who they've won and beat and all that kind of stuff and who they struggled against, the Broncos overall have really done some really interesting things in terms of the Broncos defense. I do not believe that the Colts are at that level, but they're certainly darn close. They are. Right. They're in that kind of like discussion of being like really good. The Colts offense, though, is what really sets them apart from a lot of these other teams, which is I actually put the Colts offense and defense in very similar categories, which really puts them in this ultra competitive grouping of teams, which is their defense is very good and their offense is very good. And most teams
very
have
complementary. They are very complementary team.
Yeah, exactly. And so that just shows that the team has been pretty well put together overall.
Yep.
As a result, I actually think that the Colts are well positioned to cause a lot of damage to the Chiefs' defense, keep the Chiefs off the field, and then also
you and
potentially
thinking alike.
Yeah, I have our private chat on the screen. I can't even see what Nav is saying right now, and I'm intentionally doing that because I don't want to be influenced or have people think that I'm influenced. And for the record, I posted my Chiefs score that I'm about to list right here before we even spoke about the Raiders game in our private chat. So my Chiefs score prediction is actually Colts 31, Chiefs 24.
I think that's similar to here. Let's look at Nav. He's got Indy over Chiefs 31-23. What was yours?
Yeah, mine's 31-24.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
Very close.
and you guys saw my private chat. You know
You
when I
guys on the
posted
same
it.
cycle?
Yes. so I mean I posted my score in there before we even started talking about the Raiders, right? Like in our private
Mhm.
chat. So
Yeah.
it's not like I've deviated from what I said or anything. And I just think the Colts are they have both sides at a above average. They have both sides of the ball above average. And
Sergeant
that says
York,
a lot.
he's got Colts over Chiefs as well.
Yeah.
24, 21.
What
Yeah.
the game is in KC, I believe, though, right?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I picked them. But man, I hope I'm wrong because it would be nice to see them this 1 year. I mean, look, they've damn near dominated us for 9 seasons now, right?
Yeah.
And finally, this division got their act together and got some really good head coaches in there. So they can't be doing this whole Patriots impersonation, with the dynasty that Pats had against that division was just trash. One Pittman.
Actually, this is not right, though, comment that's on the screen right now. So if you're a Broncos fan, you actually want the Chiefs to win. And the reason why you'd want that is because it brings the Colts down a notch and it elevates the Broncos. So if you're truly wanting the Broncos to at least be in somewhat control of their own destiny as it pertains or comes to the number 1 seed, it would actually be in the Broncos' best interest for the Colts to lose and the Chiefs to win, because the Chiefs are at least a couple games back or more than a few games back of the Broncos. So the Chiefs are more of a threat right now to the Chargers than they are the Broncos at the moment in terms of divisional rankings.
Very much
And you
so.
would actually want you would want the Chiefs actually to win, and you'd want the Colts to lose, and then that drops the Colts down, and then it basically elevates the Broncos.
He says that's what I meant.
Yep.
Go Colts. Broncos will be number 1 seed. So
Switch it.
English is a thing. I read English. You spoke English, and I read it correctly. However, I will give you credit. You have corrected yourself, so that's fair. But hey, poking fun is also part of the game. I'm a host. I get to do it. So anywho, it is what it is. Thank you guys for your comments. So as a Broncos fan, and Vici, I completely agree. Like we actually, oddly enough, it's like one of the only weeks that we're going to be cheering for the Chiefs to win because it helps our team, right? I agree. Like this is kind of where I'm at too. It's like, can I really bring myself to say like, yay? I'm not so sure. But at the same time, it certainly would benefit our Denver Broncos if the Chiefs were to win and the Colts were to lose. So part of me is saying I'd love for my score prediction to be wrong. So with that in mind, guys, the bye week is upon us. DZ, you and I both have the bye week this week. Broncos fans and others have chimed in terms of like bringing in potentially like signing guys off of practice squads to bolster certain positions. Broncos, specifically the running back position, and other teams obviously have other needs. DZ, like a lineman would be a good idea. Just like tossing it out there. Especially considering your team is still well within competitive range of making the playoffs and having some opportunity even in the post secondary. But we'll wait and see. But with that in mind, guys, we're going to end the show there. Thank you all for joining us, and we will talk about everything next week, where the entire panel will have a game to talk about the week coming up.
Yeah.
Jack, we will have
Get
your
better,
game
Jack.
to talk about. And ladies and gentlemen, everyone in the chat, I'd like to see some get wells for Jack in the chat there. He was not feeling well today and toughed it out for the entire show. And he was toughing it out. He had to pop off a few times because he's doing that not great. He had to run off and go off camera. So thank you, Jack, for keeping and sticking out with us and going through the whole thing. Ladies and gentlemen, that'll end the show here and there. Until next week, where the West Side's the best side. Peace!
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute.